Hey everyone, thanks for joining us. This is the Behind the Department video series. This month, August 2024, on the Fire and Safety Calendar Project. We're here in Clifton, New Jersey.
Yep.
Lieutenant Mark Zidiak, thank you for spending time with me this morning.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate being here. Hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, so you know what we're doing here, right? We're working with fire and safety, and we're capturing the story behind apparatus builds. And so for the August 2024 calendar shoot, it was ladder 2, which is right behind us here. A beautiful Aero XT rear mount, steel heavy duty, 100-foot aerial. Beautiful piece. We did a tour behind the build series. A lot of fun to really understand and see firsthand the design and reasons for the design. So the beauty of the Behind the Department series is to really capture the essence of what's happening behind the garage doors when it comes to the consideration of why you're building the trucks that you're building.
Okay.
And so ladder 2, a little bit different than what it replaced.
Correct.
Before that, you had truck 2, which was a mid-mount tower ladder.
Yep, 95-foot mid-mount.
Yeah. So the conversation there certainly had to be pretty dynamic. And I think what's exciting about that, and we talked about it in the Behind the Build series, was that you had an administration that allowed for people that operated these trucks to be on the committee and have a voice. Mm-hmm. So important in the process.
Yeah, it was probably the first build we've had that I can remember where the truck wasn't built already and we were just kind of, yes, it's pretty.
Right.
This is one where from day one when we decided to have the committee, we put it together of people who were on it, people who were on the other ladder company because they had a little bit of insight on a different version of it, where we had the mid-mount, they had the rear mount, and there was a good discussion, sometimes very spirited, about what is best for the city of Clifton. And we did research on fire footage, on types of calls we went on, what the apparatus is to be used for, and maybe what we want it to be used for, and what do we see every day. And from the start, it was what works, what doesn't work. What do we like about the mid-mount tower? What do we like about the rear mount straight stick? And back and forth, a lot of research. We had documentation for everything.
Right.
Going back to even fire footage.
Yeah.
And to see
where
did we use it, where could we have used it, what did work, what didn't work. And in the end, when we presented to the chief of department what we needed, it was this.
Yeah.
Shorter, more versatile, able to get in places that a 47-foot mid-mount tower ladder maybe wouldn't fit or didn't fit.
Right.
And what equipment we needed to carry. We, again, not having a rescue company, the ladders act as that rescue type organization part, and we needed to fit some more equipment on something that already was kind of packed pretty tight. So the committee sat down with some sample drawings and kind of dry fit, you know, the best they could in the boxes that they could. And every one of the pros kept coming back to rear mount stick. And again, you had your die-hard tower guys and stuff like that. And not that anybody was against it, but it was just what works best here.
Well, you said something that really stood out to me a few minutes ago. What was best for the residents of Clifton, the city of Clifton, and its fire department, and looking at operational strategy, tactics, operations, coupled with the demographic, the topography, all of it, right? Has to be weighed in considering the type of apparatus that you build. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean,
versatility alone.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you go from city streets that were designed for horse and buggy around the turn of the century to cul-de-sacs containing 8,000 square foot mansions with 100-foot setbacks. Is there one piece that solves everything? No. But if we can get from 20% usage on the old tower ladder at every incident to a higher percentage, 60, 70, we win.
Yeah.
That's more dollar for the resident as far as what they benefit from.
Sure.
So.
And then looking at the operation of the apparatus and the company itself. So we should say that Clifton has a lot of everything.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Heavy infrastructure, manufacturing, major arteries, parkways, turnpikes, highways, I mean, residential, farms.
Oh yeah,
name it.
Oh yeah. 2 working farms. We talked about it before. We have a grist mill with silos and grain, and right down to urban city streets with 4-story, 50-unit apartment buildings dating back to the early 1900s to, like I said, 7,000 square foot mansions on acreage of property. So, you know, trying to design and build apparatus that meets every single need in that dynamic world is daunting.
And then looking at the operations of the company, you're running a 3-man.
Correct.
Typically, your minimum is a 3-man staff,
Yeah.
3-person staff.
Correct.
On the truck.
Yeah, we're 4 on paper. 99% of the time, it's 3 with vacations and sick and injured and stuff like that. So we operate. We have to design something to be efficient with 3.
And that has to be considered in the initial build out.
Correct.
In spec writing of the truck.
Correct.
And what I loved about the conversation we had during the Behind the Build series was that you design the apparatus around how you operate.
Yes.
Which is super smart, right? Here's our disciplines. This is the type of work that this truck needs to handle. Now, how do we set it up, form, fit, and function?
Right. And that wasn't me. That came from the guys on the committee who actually ride the apparatus. The question was put down, like, well, what works for you guys? So we looked at the apparatus we had and the vehicles we had and the way they were laid out and said, well, okay, well, you guys, you're the ones grabbing the tools out of the compartments. You're the ones jumping in and out of this thing. So what works and what doesn't work? And it wasn't just the guys on the committee. We did some polling around the different shifts and stuff like that, that guys that weren't on the committee but ride the pieces said, how would you like to see this?
Yeah.
And, you know, guys were making notes, they took their input, and a lot of that thought went into this as far as, you know, I don't like jumping back into the cab. I don't like having to reach for this or climbing over that to get to this. So the seating, the equipment placement, all the little nuances of it were all thought out by the people who actually ride the seat.
And you said it before, and I don't know if we captured it on camera or not, but you said what that does, that allows for buy-in.
Yes. Yep.
When your people can buy in, when you allow them to be part of the process, they have ownership.
Yes. Yep.
So important.
Yeah. And again, it's a pride. Anything, it's pride.
Absolutely.
Where maybe if a piece is thrust upon you, you're you know that they didn't. There's no grasp to it. There's no I didn't do this. Everybody who rides this had some sort of input. So if you went from shift to shift to shift, you know, at least one idea from every person that's ridden this rig is in this rig.
Yeah.
So it does have an effect.
Another part of the conversation, too, that we hit on earlier, and I want to reiterate it and talk about it a little bit further, was the inclusion of putting the city mechanic into the process very early on.
Huge. Yep.
I asked you why you guys went with the Aero XT, right? A lot of times we're seeing now Enforcer chassis because they do have a little more space, a little more leg room, if you will. I think it's a little bit wider of a chassis than the Aero XT, right? But when you break that down, there was a reason behind the Aero XT.
Yeah, he had some concerns, and he's been our mechanic now for quite a few years. And he's seen every iteration of chassis that's come through here. At the time, the Aero XT was the only chassis available with a 13-inch frame rail.
Right.
And the way this city paves their streets, I mean, you drove through here.
Any city.
It takes a beating. And between EMS calls and fire alarms and all the calls we go on, you're just constantly bouncing around the street. So he liked that 13-inch frame rail, a little more solid, what he felt was a little less flex. So that was his input. He came up with the idea for what type of engine to put in here, the size, the transmission, all those little pieces that he has to work on in the end. And again, right down to the wheel sets in the back, that if we lose a wheel in the back for whatever reason on the tandem, he's got a rack full of them because they're the same tires and
garbage
rims.
trucks, dump trucks.
Every single one's designed the same in that respect, and because he had a hand in those, he can have a hand in this. So it just makes his job a lot easier.
The other thing too is if we're going to build a truck, what do I know about engines and transmissions?
I'm not a mechanic.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so why wouldn't we want to include those people in the process, especially the people that are going to turn a wrench on these for us?
He was huge at the inspection when we lifted up on the lift and we tilt the cab and we're going through the wiring harnesses and the drain tubing. Something as simple as the air conditioning drain tubing, where it terminates at the bottom of the rig, is it dripping on a component that over time is going to rust the component out? He found one of those things and said, hey, we'll make this tube a little longer, we won't have to worry about it. So little things like that maybe a firefighter doesn't see.
That's right, 100%.
But he sees.
Yeah.
And now that's one less thing he has to fix or worry about in that next PM or anything like that. So all those little things.
It's a big part of the process.
Yeah, he was huge, absolutely huge.
So you mentioned final inspection. Did you guys do a pre-inspection? Did you do a mid-inspection or a midpoint?
This truck was built and designed mid-COVID.
Okay.
So a lot of it was remote,
Yeah.
and then we would get picture updates. They were doing that update series through photos and short videos and stuff like that. So we didn't have really a hands-on inspection midway. But they were very good in providing us with details during the build, so we could say, hey, what is that over there? Or was that supposed to be there? And we're going back with our plans, looking at details and stuff.
Yeah, it was a unique time.
Yeah. I mean, even one of the, I think at the time, the committee, with the people who had already been on other committees, this was the first time they did a pre-construction remote. And we're on the phone with the engineers and things like that when we needed questions answered.
The other thing, too, about the build and early on, it seemed like getting the buy-in from people that are, riding the apparatus, and they're on the committee, and their input matters, and it's being valued, and you're getting that buy-in. It also seems like it gave you an opportunity. It was like a fresh slate for you, a new palette that you could, figure it out, fixing the airbag situation, new type of extrication equipment. Those are all things we talked about in the behind the build series. But to reiterate on that and to talk about that just a little bit deeper, this really seems like it was a new chapter for Clifton in a way of designing and speccing the apparatus and then operationally working off.
Yeah. In previous years, the trucks were kind of built in somebody's head.
Yeah, here's your truck.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and then it would be, okay, here's your truck, figure out where you want to put the equipment, and then get it out on the road.
So commonplace across the American Fire Service.
Right.
Yeah.
And this, the chief, our previous chief, Frank, he basically said, guys, this is your rig. You have to ride it. Figure it out. Tell me what you need. We'll get it done.
Right.
And then he was the good dad and would reel in the leash when he needed to, when we got a little crazy. But for the most part, if we suggested it and it made sense to him, and he did his own research. When we came to him with a rear mount stick, he did his own research and called people he knew as to, well, why don't you have a tower? Why do you have a straight? And he did his own research just to verify that we were going down the right path.
Sure.
So again, the end result was a lot of thought to get the right piece for the city of Clifton. I mean, even from the equipment standpoint, what you see on this, so that we had a standardization in the department, the Homatro battery tools, we bought a set for the other ladder. Instead of them having a Hurst and us having a Homatro, we standardized everything.
Yes.
So he gave us the ability to, you know what, if we're going to do this, let's do it right.
I love that.
Right? Some things they don't carry. It's a smaller piece. It doesn't have a lot of storage space, but from the battery tools to the battery hand tools to the power, the ventilation equipment, all that's the same. So we're interoperable in that way that if they need a battery, they're using the same set we are. It's not DeWalt versus Milwaukee or whoever. It's we had the opportunity to move to that next level and say, these two are going to be the same, similar to the way the engineers are designed.
And that's what I love, though, right? That's dynamic thinking, right? That's looking at the whole picture and saying, if we can do this, let's do it as a large scale fix.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. The other part of the considerations for the truck is understanding for our viewers, people that are looking at this, going, okay, I understand the truck and the build, but why do they need that, right? And so the other part of it is talking about the department, the makeup of the department, the type of response areas, things like that, your response structures. This is a career department.
Correct.
And just talk a little bit about the department itself, staffing, and then how many companies, so on, so people get a mindset.
All right. Well, just the city in and of itself is 12 square miles. We're a horseshoe shape. We surround Passaic.
Right.
So it's weird to get to the other side of town. You can drive through another town to get to the other side of town, or drive around to get to the other side of town. 12 square miles, 90,000 residents, and again, talking about the infrastructure here, you go from rural farmland, acres of farmland, to urban settings, to high rises, to a 18-hole, 36-hole golf course or whatever. You name it, it's here. Railroads, freight, passenger, one-story, two-story Cape Cods and ranches, all the way up to 7,000 square foot mansions. So it's a little bit of everything. Shift strength, minimum shift strength is 28, 3 ambulances, 5 engines, 2 ladders, tour commander, 4 shifts, 24 72s. And then, the city sees a little bit of everything. And we do EMS, so we ride 3 ambulances too. So every rig is EMS capable, every firefighter, all the way up to the chief of department is still an EMT.
Yeah. So no rescue company, right? You
No.
have light duty rescue, but the truck companies are really picking up the fair share
Correct.
of the auto work, if you will.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, the first due to any extrication is going to be a ladder, east side, west side, and if it becomes more detailed, you'll get both ladders going.
Yeah.
So, and then 2 engine companies to complement that.
So the design and build then of the truck is super cool because what you did was fire and rescue on one side and then extrication on the other side.
Right. For the lack of that rescue company, we had it's not just truck company equipment that you would see maybe on a big city rig where it's, a rescue company has all that specialized stuff and the ladder company has ladder tools plus their little bit of auto stuff. We kind of package everything in one.
Yep.
And being only 28 on a shift and a little short-handed, you got to make everything count. Every step you take has got to be a step towards a goal. And the way this rig was designed was, again, the second you get out, you're always aimed at your goal. You're always heading towards your end result. And that way you don't have to turn around and go grab something. Or it's always going towards what you want to accomplish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense. I mean, it's just all of it is put together really well, and it's fun to watch as an outsider coming in today and learning more about you guys. I mean, I've known the Clifton Fire Department for a very long time, but to see the inner workings and understand the mindset, and then really understanding now it has scaled to a younger department.
Yep.
You have a lot of youth coming in. You're consistently hiring,
Yep.
and so on, which is now including people with a younger point of view and mindset in the decision making, which is representative of what's been happening here.
Yeah.
Which I think is very cool.
Oh yeah, it's a fresh look.
Yeah.
I mean, 25 years, I'm kind of set in my ways. I'm open to anything.
I get it.
But you get people who are really into the job. If they're getting on now, they obviously took the test. They want to get on here. They want to be a firefighter, and it's that new enthusiasm.
Yeah.
That you got to harness that, and getting them involved in things like this and getting their input, even just asking them the question, hey, what do you think? It's the next step, and they'll get more involved and be more proud of what comes in.
Well, they become part of the process,
Yep.
and now they wear it.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yep.
now when they're on the street, they take pride in it.
Correct.
And how they work, how they operate, how the truck performs, it all now reflects on them as well.
Yep.
I love that. I love it. Final thoughts. I mean, working with fire and safety, this is their project.
Mm-hmm.
They're the manufacturer's representative, the dealer for the ladder 2 behind us. The process itself, finding a good partner in a dealership matters. And fire and safety, I know, has been very good in forming long-standing relationships. And it's supported through their salesmanship, but also their ability to follow through on what's promised.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that the delivery of expectations for them is very important. You guys use them for some of your PM work outside
Correct.
of your garage, parts. The upfitting on the truck, we did the Behind the Build series, and the way the truck is laid out is just so well done, and it's clean. Everything has its place. That was done through, your tutelage and your committee, obviously, but then also fire and safety did some of the upfitting at their factory too.
Correct. And even in the pre-construction meetings and the meetings subsequent to that, we had an idea of what we were going to put on it. And at that first meeting we had, it was very helpful for the salesperson to say, you know what, let's have fire and safety do that, and then this you can have done at the factory because it's just going to work out better. And then certain things that, don't worry about the factory doing that. We could take care of that in-house, and you'll save a little money this way or save some time that way. So getting that honesty from the salespeople and the vendor is awesome because they're not just trying to sell you a project. Even our salesperson had such a buy-in to this that, every step of the way he was like very honest with us. You don't want to do that or you want to do this. And he sometimes would talk us down from the craziness and bring us down to reality and
somebody's
say,
got to have a voice of reason.
exactly. And fire and safety in general is like that for us. I mean, even so much as, where we put a nut in a bolt or something like that. There, it works or no, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Or yes, you can or no, you can't.
I find it's a lot of fun to work with a company that is really dialed in on their product and knows their product inside and out.
Oh, yeah.
And their fabrication department can bring not just the ability to weld and fabricate, but they also can give you ideas of how to. Now, give me the list of equipment. Tell me what you have. We'll figure this out.
And they were very accommodating with us, too. When we bought all this soft equipment outright, and we had it delivered to fire and safety.
Right.
And then he was able to take the actual physical piece of equipment and figure it out.
Yeah.
You know, where we wanted it may not have been the greatest spot for it, so he's suggested maybe here. And those little things kept us from making maybe a mistake that we couldn't fix in the long run. So just giving him that stuff and having him give us his input was huge.
That's where a trusted relationship comes in,
Yeah.
you know, to give them the ability to get creative, to make a better product for you at
Yeah.
the end of the day.
Yeah.
That coupled with, you know, how we want to operate, how we want the buy-in, how we want to build this truck, all of it makes for just a great delivery.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then what they say they do. If it, you know, they hit all their deadlines. They were here when they said they were going to be here. The truck was ready when they said it was going to be ready, and the things were where they were supposed to be when they said they were going to be there. I have no complaint.
Well, Lieutenant, thank you.
Thank you,
You know,
sir.
great conversation today. A lot of fun getting to know you and the crew here. You know, and there's just something to be said. I say it all the time. When you walk into a firehouse or you look at the apparatus, you get a real good sense of that department, the culture, the way they operate. It all speaks volumes about who they are. And walking in here today, Ladder 2, Engine 5, right here on Brighton Avenue, a great firehouse, great guys here. I just want to say thank you for opening your doors and allowing us to look at Ladder 2 today. And it's been a great conversation.
Oh,
So,
thanks for coming down. I appreciate it. It's a lot of fun.
guys, thank you for tuning in for another episode of the Behind the Department build series with Fire and Safety Services, the Pierce dealer out of New Jersey. Lieutenant Mark Zidiak, thank you, sir.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it again. And guys, do me a favor, if you're interested in this and the Behind the Build series, check out YouTube and the social media channels, and check out Fire and Safety Services on their website and social channels as well. And we'll see you next month. I'm Jeremy, National Fire Radio.